Hi, guys, and welcome to Tickers from the Limitless Podcast. On this series, we review listed companies on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, or in this case, companies that are looking to list on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. I'm Matthew,
Thaon.
and today we'll be talking about, so we don't know the ticker, but Atlantic Hardware, ticker as, what do you think? I was saying maybe Atlantic or ATL, but maybe not ATL. Probably say Atlantic.
Who knows? I don't know. But I'm excited. IPO season. You know? Yeah. As the great Vibes Cartel say, IPO time come. No? You don't know that song? What? Where did that even come from? All of the money in my account soon done. If you not have none, go get some, go get some. That is it. Yo, I'm actually excited because this is the first IPO of 2025. This is huge. This is actually huge. Yeah. I think the first one we did last first of possible many. Last year it was Omni, and that was the first of 2024. So this
and then R.A. Williams after.
And now here we are again, Atlantic. So I don't know, what do you guys think about the company? Leave your comments down below. We'd love to see exactly what you think. I just read the prospectus for the first time, a couple hours ago, and now I'm here. So let's talk through this and see what's what.
Yep. So Atlantic.
Wonder maybe the ticker will be Atlantic.
Yeah, drop a comment, guys, actually below. Like, what do you think the ticker will be? We'll see who is right. So yeah, I'm sharing. What I'll try to do, I need to remember to drop a link to the prospectus. The prospectus is basically the document that we're getting most of our, information from. It outlines what the company does, how they make money, what are their plans and stuff like that. So we're just going to go through some of that document to explain, okay, what does this company do? So as we said, it's called Atlantic Hardware and Plumbing.
You know how I think of a prospectus? It's like the resume of the company. It's like it's almost like you're reviewing different people. You're trying to hire somebody, and this is the resume of Atlantic. It's giving pick me, but let's do it.
Yeah. So yeah, the name of the company is Atlantic Hardware and Plumbing. The prospectus just dropped yesterday.
Yeah, today is Friday. We're recording on Friday night for you guys.
The lead broker is JMB Securities. The offer opens February the 27th, 2025, and it's scheduled to close March 13, 2025. But you guys can actually apply before the offer opens, so you don't have to wait. And essentially, once they open it up, I think it's like at 9 a.m. or something like that. Your offer, if you've sent it in from before, it will then be processed. So you can technically send it into a queue, and then when they open it up, it will then be processed. Some of the key points is that, okay, the price, it's at $1 per share, and they tell you, how many shares are being offered for sale in total. Not all of them are for us, the public. In total, it's about just under 500 mil shares. Essentially, they split that up. There's actually a table that splits it up pretty nicely. I'm just going to skip to that. Yeah, this table here. So they actually tell you that, okay, 100 mil of the shares is to the general public. That's $1 each. 300 mil of the shares is to the lead broker, which instead in this case is JMB. JMB Securities, also at $1. And then just under 100 mil shares is reserved for key partners and employees. So they were saying like the key partners would be like possible business partners. So I mean, it's a hardware store. So maybe it's other operators of hardware stores, or maybe other contractors and customers who they buy from and things like that. And also the employees. So if you're a shareholder, if you work at Atlantic, you could get some shares reserved for you, that you have that option to buy the shares.
You realize how small that offer is for the general public, though. $100 million. It's not a lot of shares. So you see how you
Mm-hmm.
said the opening date is February 27th and the closing date
Mm-hmm.
is what, March 13th? I don't remember the closing date, but
Mm-hmm.
something a wise man once said is treat the opening date as a closing date. Big up Randy.
Mm-hmm.
Because they could close it at any point in time. They could close it on the
Mm-hmm.
day it opens. They can close it
Mm-hmm.
before, anytime before
Mm-hmm.
the closing date. So yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that they say that here the reserve shares that we mentioned, so these would be the ones for the lead broker or the key partners, which are not subscribed or basically not bought by those people. So they're saying, okay, those people that we're going to give them the right to buy the shares. If they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to buy them, the public can then get the rights after, but they get the right to first refusal. And then if they don't buy their shares, if we want to buy them, we can buy them. But you're only somewhat guaranteed to possibly be able to buy the 100 mil of those shares, which works out about 100 mil Jamaican. So yeah, that's the price. You can apply through JMMB Moneyline if you have
Yeah.
a JMMB account. I should actually double check if there's any other, if it's just Moneyline. The other thing that is important, I haven't seen something like this in a while. The offer is fully underwritten by JMMB. So essentially, what JMMB is saying is that, hey, even if the public didn't want to buy any of those shares and whatnot, we are willing to actually buy those shares. And I think
I
that
love that.
shows a big vote of confidence too.
Because
Don't.
JMMB, their last IPO, they didn't own any shares in their last
Which one was that?
IPO. Was that Apex? Did they own shares in Apex? No, Apex was who? Was that JMM? That was
Yeah, it
JMMB.
was
But they did.
JMMB.
Which IPO? There's a recent IPO that the broker didn't own any shares, and I didn't really like to see that because you're just
Mm,
earning off of the transaction. It's
mm.
not really backing the company. Was it Sagicor? Did Sagicor do an IPO recently? I can't
I think
recall.
there were R.A. Williams. I just don't remember if they
R.A.
owned.
Williams. Yeah, I don't think they owned any. But
Mm-hmm.
it's good to see. Good to see from JMMB. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that's a bit about the offer part.
Hmm.
But yeah, the as I said, the prospectus is where we're getting a lot of this information from. They tell you, okay, what is the business? It's a 30-year-old business. They're a distributor. They distribute a lot of different hardware supplies. So they say home improvement stuff, plumbing, tools, like drills, doors, lawn supplies, garden supplies, paints, all those different stuff. And they sell to hardware stores, for example. So maybe your hardware store that you go to, it's actually a
Hmm.
customer of Atlantic and you just don't know. They sell to contractors who are going to actually, who are contracted to, build up stuff. And then they also even sell to developers. So there's on more um, larger scale and stuff like that. And even
Yeah.
directly to retail. I've never been to their store though. I don't know.
Same. And I think the key reason is, well, it says it's a wholesale distributor. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not like a retail distributor where I don't know. It's just a bit different from the hardware stores that we know, your local
Mm-hmm.
hardware
Like a
store,
Lumber Depot.
like a Lumber Depot, precisely, which is
Mm-hmm.
also listed. And I guess we'll go into Lumber a bit later. We'll touch on Lumber a bit later. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what else was stood out to me. They actually show a really
Yeah,
nice
I'm looking
part.
for that. Is it like a flow chart in
No, well,
terms of?
that too, but we should go into the use of proceeds. So what they're using the money for. Essentially there's a part where they say use of proceeds. They say essentially most of the money is going to be used to repay debt. So they have
Mhm.
some loans that they took out and they're saying, hey, we want to pay back those loans because those loans we have to be paying those loans every whatever month or quarter or whatnot. And if we use this money, raise the money, pay down the debts, we can save a lot of money going forward. You know?
Yeah,
So I think
as
that's
you
mm-hmm,
you were talking about, the market sentiment towards the company,
mm-hmm,
um, and I feel like you were saying it was not the best because of the use of proceeds,
mm-hmm,
but I don't know. In my opinion, if you're taking this cash you're getting from the public and so on, and you're going to make the business more profitable,
mm-hmm,
to me it's a no-brainer. You know, it may not be as sexy or as flashy as, a company taking the cash and acquiring a new business or so on, but it
Mm-hmm.
still will make it a lot more profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And then even listing, well, they did say they would list on the junior market, and
Mm-hmm.
the benefits of the junior market. And if for those who are not familiar, once you're being listed on the junior market, the first 5 years that you're listed on the junior market, you
Mm-hmm.
pay no corporate income tax. Corporate
Mm-hmm.
income tax can go up to like 25% of your profits. So imagine you make a ton of profits and then you have to pay 25% as income tax. Um, but now they wouldn't pay any of that. So one, they're immediately profitable, being listed on the junior market for the first 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next 5 years, you pay half of that. So that's 12.5%. But there's
Mm-hmm.
them being profitable there and being
Mm-hmm.
more profitable by paying down the debt that they own. And I guess we can show the debt. I don't know if you want to show the debt now, but the they borrowed they borrowed some money. I remember the interest rate was up to like 14%
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of those. And was it
Yeah.
bonds?
So they bought 300. They borrowed 300 mil from JMMB at
Mm-hmm.
12%. That was March 2024. And then JMMB is actually going to do something interesting where they convert that debt, where they're given the option to convert that loan, that money that they lent to the company Atlantic, into
Mm-hmm.
equity in the business. So they will actually own shares in Atlantic,
Mm.
and then it
I
saves
love how you
Atlantic having to
highlight
pay.
you highlight all those dates. What
Mhm.
what what something special clearly happened on that date that they borrowed this much money. How much money is this? 300 mil
Like over a
plus
bill.
it's over $1 billion. That looks like about 1.3,
Yeah,
1.3
something like that.
billion.
hmm
Mm, okay.
hmm But the other thing I wanted to show was the part where they actually talk, like, so that people can understand, okay, what kind of products do they sell? So they go through a lot of the brands. So if you guys
Hmm.
have heard of brands like Stanley, WD-40, I'm sure we all probably
Yeah.
used WD-40 before, Black& and Decker. I think there was like tools, Patex. I think that's like
Patex.
adhesives,
Yeah,
stuff
I
like that.
used to glue up my shoe bottom and that drop off with Patex. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So they talk about that. They have over
Yeah.
2,400 products. They
Hmm.
go through this whole list in the here where they talk about the kind of products. So they really have a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, spray
Spray paint,
paints.
cement, table saws, hardboards, nails, all kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So they
Kitchen
have all
sinks.
kind of stuff. And then
Yeah.
this graph is what the one I think you're talking about, where it shows that, okay, the main certain materials, so also the core, what they call core construction materials, which would be like lumber, steel, cement.
Hmm.
Those are, well, cement is mostly, manufactured by Carib Cement. And then you have lumber and steel. Those are imported. Well,
Hmm. I know.
so the lumber and steel is imported. The cement, most of it is, manufactured here. And then I think some of the distributors are companies like Arc and Tankwell. They
Tankweld,
import some
yeah.
of those things, and then they will distribute to, for example, hardware stores. They'll distribute to large scale contractors, and then one of those people is Atlantic too. And then Atlantic will then sell and distribute that further down, for example, to other hardware stores, and then also to the consumers, which they said smaller, medium sized contractors or homeowners who need these
Hmm.
different products, who need lumber to do something, fix up your house, steel, cement, whatnot. You're doing a renovation, fixing up this area, boarding off, hurricane, something like that's who yeah, that's one that they can do. So but then for example there's other things, so that they said plumbing, electrical stuff. They actually Atlantic actually, I guess, bypasses some of those people like Arc and Tankwell and will import it from a bunch of different countries. They're saying US, China,
Hmm.
Hong Kong, Vietnam, Brazil. And I mentioned like even something like that would be interesting because there could be some supply chain stuff with like the whole Trump and tariff situation, and depending on where they get that from. So if it's like, okay, will it be that the cost of some of those goods go up and stuff like that? I guess we'll have to wait to see.
Hmm.
But I noticed that so like
That's one
certain.
aspect, but the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they have such a diverse supply chain network also probably means that
Mm,
they can be agile enough to
mm-hmm.
find and procure other inventory
I
items
guess it
at lower
depends
cost.
which. I don't know if it's that, like, say they get certain items from Taiwan, certain items from Hong Kong, or it's that they can get one item from multiple different countries. So yeah, I guess it would depend how good they have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what one of the things, because one of the things we're going to talk about before is that, like, Lumber Depot, which is another listed company, they are like a hardware store. So they, for example, I'm guessing Atlantic is possibly a supplier to Lumber Depot. Maybe they sell some of their products to Lumber Depot, but I don't think Lumber itself, for example, sells the hardware store. Lumber is more retail. So
Yeah.
most of Lumber's people are much smaller people, like smaller contractors or homeowners and stuff that go to the store. So I've seen that difference in the business there.
And there's also a difference in terms of location for both Lumber and Atlantic, because Atlantic now they're located by the port. No, they moved to the port recently. I think it was
Well, no,
last year.
so I actually checked that it wasn't that they moved to the port. They already so let me show. They already were near there, you know, they just moved
Closer to the
slightly.
port.
Yeah, I pull it up on Google Maps.
They were by Ashenheim Road.
Yes, I'm gonna show on my screen.
Mm.
So this is a port of Kingston. So here is Kingston Wharves, here's Kingston Freeport Terminal. So maybe they import the lumber, the steel, whatnot. You go to Kingston Wharves, or I'm guessing it's likely Kingston Wharves. And then this is their old location was here. Like the location isn't actually changed on Google Maps yet. So this is the Ashenheim Road. This is their old location. It's not that far. It's like, I think 15 minutes based on Google Maps. And then the new location is still, it's actually technically further away from the port. Well, unless, I guess it's where the items come in. So if it comes in at the Kingston Wharves, then it's like, it's not that much further, but yeah. So this is actually their new location here. So they have to, I guess, update that on Google Maps. So it wasn't really that, it wasn't that they weren't at the port before. They just moved to a different, they're still right near there though.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it just seems closer, in my opinion.
Well, it
Unless
depends,
they're
because
not
if the
using,
items, if it
unless they're
comes
not
here at
using
Kingston
Kingston
Wharf,
Wharves.
but
Yeah,
then if you look at, we'll talk about that, the ownership. I feel like they do, but we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the products and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't know, Atlantic, there are a lot of synergies, and the reason we should probably go into ownership, because we did speak about Lumber. I don't know if you want to go into ownership right now.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I'd say is that one of the things that they mentioned that they are working on to, you know, increase business, you mentioned at the location. So the previous location, the reason that they wanted to move was that it was smaller. So it was actually 30,000 square feet. And essentially the new space is about just under 50,000, 40,000 square feet. So they say that they actually have been able to double the storage capacity, so they can store more of those different hardware items and such. So that, you know, they don't, because one of the things you don't want is that if there are supply chain issues, you can't get the item. Like, say there's a developer who's like, hey, I need to buy my lumber, I need to buy the steel because I'm doing a project. I'm buying it from Atlantic. I have a good relationship, and then Atlantic runs out of the product. They're like, hey, I still have to do the product. I still have to do my project. I'm going to have to go find someone else. And what if when I find that someone else, I choose to stay with them? You know, I'm like, oh, this person's actually pretty good. Maybe I switch. So you don't want to lose that business. So you want to always make sure you have enough inventory in hand. And so the warehouse will help with that. And then they also set up.
You said that reduced, before you said they set that up, reduced transportation costs. So lower fuel and freight expenses at the bottom. A shorter haul from the port to the warehouse lowers transport costs, enabling better control over overall logistics expenses. So it is closer. It's a less in terms of the transit.
Well,
from.
I don't think. Hold on. If you read that, all they're saying is the fact. I feel like this is just saying the fact that we are close to the port of Kingston. Because this is before they mention the location, you know. So it's just saying, I read this as, hey, we are close to the port of Kingston versus maybe another competitor, so we can easily get our items there.
Even
I
though
don't
they're
think it's
being
saying that.
closer. Maybe they are talking about other companies and their competitors.
Yeah, but I
Could
mean, I
be.
showed the location. I don't.
Yeah.
I guess this depends where the item comes off.
Okay.
Yeah. And they mentioned this thing, the ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning System, which is like a digital way of tracking your items, and it's like it can help with when people order items, so that it's like the computer system will say, okay, it'll have a track record of you have X amount of lumber, X amount of steel, and then when someone places an order, it will say, okay, you had 10% before, now you have 8%. Maybe when you reach 8%, you need to be careful because that means you need to then stock up on supply and whatnot. So it's like a whole computerized system that they say should help make them, more efficient and stuff, and help, I think, reduce things like stockouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they are in the process of selling that. Well, no, they sold that property, the older property. They sold it January this year, January 2025. January 8th, 2025, to Kingston Wharfs. So Kingston Wharfs wanted some more space there. And some of the
now
other...
where are they? Now their new location.
Oh.
They're leasing it, right? From Epley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marcus Garvey Drive. Yeah, Marcus Garvey Drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what else stood out to me? They... you're talking about, okay, shareholdings. We can talk about that. So this is the shareholdings before the company lists. So this is before the public enters. 50% is the Constructs Group, which is like affiliated with like the Mustang Group of companies, PB Scott. Lumber Depot, as we said, that listed company, they bought a 35% stake into the company last year. And then General Accident Insurance, they actually own 15%, which is another PB. And then both Lumber is a PB Scott associated company. They, I think, are the largest shareholder, the number one shareholder. GNAC, Mustang is the largest shareholder in GNAC. So it's like, hey, I want my insurance company own a stake in this hardware company,
Have a hardware company owning a stake in another one of their hardware companies. Yeah.
I do think it makes sense for Lumber, because I think one of the big issues with Lumber
was
they had so there could be synergies, but like Lumber had an issue because it's like we have this one location, and if you've ever been there, I don't know if you've ever been there, it can be very, very packed. Like when it's busy, it's very, very packed. And I don't know, I think they could possibly be missing out on some amount of business. Maybe there's someone who's like, hey, I can't wait in the line, I need this. And I think it was just hard for them to grow. I think they've hit somewhat of a ceiling, and I think them buying into Atlantic is to help try offset that. And then there's additional synergies, because maybe Atlantic can now sell products to Lumber at good prices, like work out good deals,
Yeah, you see, I don't know. I like the fact that it's more even the fact that it's wholesale, and I like the diversity of even the company's customers, because in the prospectus it said Atlantic has about 1,000 recurring loyal clients, have very strong relations with the customers and so on. And to me, that says even if one sector of like the construction industry is down, let's say like residential, for example, right? Others could be booming, because when you think who uses a lot of these things, like tourism, and you have commercial projects, government contracts. So I like the fact that they have a lot of different clients.
I wish they gave more of a breakdown on like that percentage, on, because like Lumber, for example, will tell you, oh, most of us is like small, most of our customers are like smaller people. Like, I don't know, I wish they gave maybe a breakdown like percentage wise on their business. Like, okay, are they, because they Atlantic mentioned, okay, I think there's a line where they mentioned, oh, they service like all of Jamaica, but like, is it that they're more centered towards this part of the island? I mean, the port is in Kingston, so I assume that, but like, how much are they reaching over into like Western Jamaica?
Things I agree, because even part of the prospectus, like looking beyond their core business, they said they wanted to create a dedicated project division which targets like large scale construction projects all over the island. Because when you mention that, you can think about the potential revenue from
especially because they're an importer too. If they work
Like the potential revenue from outfitting or supplying think of almost an entire resort or even a housing development, and it's just them, right? That would be pretty cool, and that could make a lot of money for them. So yeah,
Yeah,
just
that's
another thing
true.
to think about for their revenues.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you see, I'm showing the board of directors. So PB Scott, as I said,
crucial.
chairman, CEO of Muson, Sepra, GNAC. He's also, big in Lumbo. Jeffrey Hall, he's chairman of Lumbo. He's also a director in this company. And, Jamaica producers, Panjam, Kingston Wharf, he's chairman of. So then you see that synergy there because they sold a property to Kingston Wharfs.
Yeah, one of my favorite episodes was actually with Jeffrey Hall. For those who
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know, yeah, we'll probably link it before, but he came on the podcast. Big up, Sir Jeffrey
I'd love to
Hall.
have PB Scott on too.
Yeah, we'd love to have PB Scott. Yeah, they're a dynamic duo, Jeffrey Hall and PB Scott. We see them everywhere. Like the moves they're making in the market, even with this company when we did further like analysis and so on. And who knows, there are other synergies outside of just the Musang group. So yeah.
Yeah. And then the CEO, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, DNL Barnes. He's the CEO of Atlantic. And interesting enough, he used to run ARC Manufacturing. And as I said, I think ARC
they're a competitor, no?
competitor, but also I think ARC possibly supplies them. Because ARC is like also a manufacturer too, so they could end up actually buying some products from ARC. I'm not sure. So yeah, I guess Atlantic stole him from them. And then Major Noel Dawes, he runs Lumber Depot. So then he was, elected to the board. Donald Fung, he founded Atlantic, and he's the former CEO before Mr. Barnes stepped in. We're still on the board. Lisa Kong, she's company secretary at Lumber Depot. So notice she, is on the board of this company. Sharon Donaldson, she's the managing director of GNAC. And remember, GNAC has a big stake. So that makes sense too. And then look at this guy, Alexander Marston. He works at Muson. And Sekou Crawford, he works with Muson too. So you're seeing the synergies there.
Huge. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember anything else kind of stood out before I go to my Notion. Oh, I guess we can talk about the profit. So
okay.
This part stood out to me though. Like, you notice how in the revenue part, let's say revenue grew. This was in relation to the most recent numbers. So the most recent financials they gave us September 2024. Let's say revenue growth was driven by introduction of new products, including lumber, steel, cement, and zinc.
Yeah,
So is it just is it that they're saying different types of cement bags? Like they had the soul cement before, but then it's like, we're selling like a larger cement bag from Carb Cement, or a different shape of steel, or that's where I was.
Unless those are just new, like they didn't import them before.
But they don't import this though. Remember, in that graph, it shows you that there's a major importer, and then the major importer sells to them. Well, I guess for cement, it wouldn't really be.
The major importer doesn't. Did it say major importer? Because those are external, so they don't have to be from Jamaica.
No, but I was saying, like, for example, with cement. Wait, what are you saying exactly? Go again.
No, the graph shows
major national distributors.
Yeah, but
so this is like ARC and Tankweld. So yeah, I was wondering. I'm like, so you're saying they didn't sell that before? Because I doubt that. I don't know.
Looks like new.
Yeah.
Something to ask the CEO when he comes on the podcast. Manifesting.
Yeah. And there was some additional stuff I wanted to talk about. So they mentioned that So as we said,
Oh, the
most of the money
debt.
that they're raising will be used to pay down, and they actually even give you some estimated cost savings. So they said they'll save 94 mil, basically just under 100 mil Jamaican every year in
Hmm.
expense on those loans. So
And how
that's
much? Do you know how
possible.
much profit they made last year? It was
Uh,
147 mil or
but
something like
they
that.
haven't released the full. We don't have the full 2024 numbers.
Yeah.
So you have where is this? You
Feel
have
like the
the most
full.
recent report period is September 2024. And you imagine this was before things like them, because they sold that property to Kingston Wharfs early January 2025.
I'm pretty
And you're
sure we
not
have the
seeing
full.
things like, no, there's no there's no Q4 December
Oh yeah,
2024.
true. Yeah, there is
And
none.
then
It's
there's
just
other things
2025.
like you're not, because the warehouse was bought
January
when
of
again?
this year.
No, that was selling the old warehouse. The lease started. Hold on. Remember they said
Yeah.
when the lease started. So when did they get that new warehouse from Epley? October 2024. So I said that was actually
Oh
after the
yes.
September 2024 report. So we haven't really seen how the business is doing since. I don't know how long it would take them to like move over to the new warehouse, because like to get those can may take like, I don't know, a few weeks, a month, 2 months, such. Um, but yeah, profit is down compared to last year, compared for the 9 months 2024. So they made 62 mil profits up to 9 months up to September 2024, versus in 2023 they made 176 mil. So profits are somewhat down, but revenues were actually up. And a big
Yeah.
part of that, as we said, was the finance cost. So they were paying
Heavy.
100 mil on those loans instead of 32 mil. So that finance cost tripled. So I think they want to pay back down, and then they're saying, hey, that when we pay a significant portion of that down, that will go to our bottom line. We'll be able to report more profit once that happens. So I think
Yeah.
that
And the
is
tax break.
their, yeah, and then the tax break too, because they wouldn't have that. They wouldn't have that
The
tax. So yeah.
so they'd save quite a bit of money.
Yeah, so those are
Typically
some of
way more
the
profitable.
stuff. I think I had a few more stuff. So I already told. I looked at their. I think you should always look at like the website.
Mhm.
So I did look at their website, because they've said that they want to push more into their digital offerings and stuff like that. It actually looks pretty decent still. They
Yeah.
show you the projects and stuff like that. Pretty simple. They go through the different products: plywood, doors, locks, farm and garden, and then you can actually like contact them if you want to. They have a number and stuff like that. So that's their website. And we already mentioned some of the things like Arc Manufacturing, Tank Weld, Kingston Wharf, Carib Cement, Lumbo, and then we have done tickers. We did our tickers on GNAC, we did our tickers on Kingston Wharf,
Mhm.
and I think we'll likely do one on Carib Cement, and then we'll possibly do one on Lumbo Depot too. Drop a comment below if we should. And yeah, I think the other point I was saying was that the sentiment so far, I mean, it's still early, but my read of, I guess, how some people are feeling about it was that they didn't like that they were paying down debt with the
Yeah.
money that they're raising. Like some people are saying they'd rather they buy. I saw someone saying that they'd rather buy a warehouse, but then I was like, they already did buy a warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. And
I guess
it's
they want to buy,
doubled
they want them to buy
the
another
storage
warehouse.
capacity. I don't know. I don't know. But this is kind of how, IPOs are. They don't always look so flashy, but
Mm-hmm.
imagine doubling profits just off of the IPO alone. Imagine your
Mm.
profits actually double, right?
Yeah. I was trying to do
Yeah.
like a comparison, because I was thinking that, you know, lumber
It's similar.
lumber is pretty similar. So I'm like, okay, if I'm an investor, because I was thinking from the perspective of, you have a thesis that the construction industry is going to do well. There's a lot of developments and such going up. So you're like, okay, I want to look into a construction related company. So you have options like Carib Cement, but then I think a more direct, a better comparison would be lumber versus Atlantic. So I tried
Mhm.
to do some it was kind of hard because, as we said, the time periods that they report and such. So I did have to do some sort of projection. So Lumber, the most recent report I saw was October 2024. So that was a 6 months period, so 2 quarters. So I did a projected if they continue at the same rate, which isn't perfect, but just to have somewhat of a comparison. And then I did the same thing for Atlantic, but Atlantic already had 9 months or 3 quarters. So I just projected 1 quarter if they continue at the same rate. So like trying to look at, okay, what would be some different valuation, like who has the higher margins, whatnot. So with that projection, Lumber actually has slightly lower margins, and I think that makes sense because, as we said, if Atlantic is selling to the hardware stores like a Lumber, there's like some
Wait,
loss of margins there.
Lumber sells to the hardware stores? Oh, you
No, I
mean,
said
oh, Atlantic
Atlantic selling to
sells
hardware stores like Lumber.
like Lumber. Ah.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
they have to sell. So Atlantic will sell to you, and then Lumber then has to add its own markup versus, so Lumber loses some
Yeah. Or you
other
can just buy
margins on.
directly from Atlantic. So you have wholesale and retail sales from
Mm-hmm.
Atlantic, whereas
Yeah.
Lumber is more just retail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Atlantic, I think, Atlantic had higher gross profit margins, and
And it
then
would
Lumber, for
also
example,
make
doesn't
sense
have
to,
the.
based on the cost savings of
Mm-hmm.
operations, because
Mm-hmm.
you'd still have to get a lot of that product and then transport it to Papine where Lumber is. So
Mm-hmm.
you lose some off of that as well.
Yeah, and then Lumber
Yeah.
has a tax break, so they're not paying any taxes. So well, for right
For
now,
now, yeah.
yeah, I think they'll lose it soon. So I was looking at, okay, what would be some of the valuation metrics? So like, okay, Lumber is they're actually doing similar-ish revenues actually. So if the
Mm.
projections hold for Lumber, they'd be doing like 1.5 billion revenue, 172 million profit. Versus Atlantic, they could be doing 1.6 billion revenue, 111 million profits. So they'd actually have slightly lower profit margins. But then when I factored in weight, do a projection with Atlantic not having to pay that tax, so that's 25% that they don't have to pay, they
Yeah.
would, the profit margins, would increase there. So Atlantic is technically, you're paying slightly higher, like you'd say PE, like slightly higher price to earnings ratio. So it could be between a PE of 16 to 22 versus Lumber, which would be at like 12. And I was looking at things like kind of like the amount of cash they have, but even things like this is hard because Atlantic should have more cash because they sold the property, as we said, January, but the report is telling us September 2024. That's like 200 mil or so. That's not going to be there. So that
Yeah.
was, I guess, my issue, like trying to do the comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking that like with Lumber, they have kind of hit that ceiling until they end up probably getting another branch
Or
because I think
merging
they're
with
kind of limited.
Atlantic. In my opinion, there are too many synergies between these companies for them to be, well, they're not necessarily standalone because obviously Lumber owns a piece of Atlantic. But I see something happening in the future with both Lumber and Atlantic, and it makes sense. Imagine Atlantic merging with Lumber, and now Lumber Depot is just another branch of Atlantic. You get me? There's so many more synergies that can happen. And
It would give Atlantic the retail presence,
exactly.
and then Lumber yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
pretty interesting. I don't know if that's their plan
Hmm.
eventually too.
Because when did Lumber buy Atlantic? Last year. Last year, May, I believe.
May 2024.
And
Yeah.
yeah, if you look at the note, this is why me and my brethren say finance is one big craft. Because if you look at the actual numbers, we can probably share that article. I don't know if you can find the article. May 2024, when
But I think
Lumber bought
Lumber
them.
put out a notice on it. I
Lumber
think
bought them for 210 mil.
bought the stake.
The stake, 35% of Atlantic. And this is why stock's so interesting, guys, because the gain with this
Yeah,
acquisition.
210 mil.
Yeah. And then if you do an analysis, how much is that per share? Because they bought.
I'll just say what it's worth now. So it went from
Yeah, what's it
200
worth
mil
now?
to, at the dollar price, it's just under 700 mil. So they
Yeah.
turned 200 mil into about 700 mil in a year,
Less than
or
a
slightly
year,
under a year. Yeah.
because they bought them in May and it's February now. So imagine tripling $200 million in
Over a mil
10
US.
months. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy to me. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
actually pretty cool still. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I was just realizing that how tightly, because when Atlantic, trying to compare how tightly they're both held. Because Atlantic, when they list, it's gonna be a pretty tightly held company, won't it?
yeah. They're
Because let's
creating
see.
additional shares. So you
Mm-hmm.
usually in some IPOs, the 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 shareholder, you can either sell shares or create additional shares and then sell them, right? So as you can see that from the graph that, well, from the table that Preston is showing, you can see Construct owns, okay, no,
Mm-hmm.
the before, the one
What?
before, scroll up a bit.
Oh.
Yeah, and sorry for the audio listeners, but I'm gonna just say it out loud. So Construct Group Limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
They own 50% before the invitation. And Lumber
Mm-hmm.
owns 35% and GNAC owns 15%. So that's the 100%, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then after, if you look at after the invitation and you scroll down a bit, the number of issued and outstanding shares,
Mm-hmm.
actual number of shares is the same as
Mm-hmm.
before. It's just that they've created these additional shares now. So you see on the lead broker reserve pool, key
Mm-hmm.
partners and employees and general public, those are new. So they created these new shares and are now selling them to the public for $1 per share. So they're creating new shares.
Mm. No, cause I was just
Yeah.
realizing that if, like, say the lead broker, if JMB converts all that loan into ownership, and if GNAC, Lumber, and Construct hold, and if JMB doesn't, sell,
Hmm.
then that's actually a pretty tightly held company. That's like 92% in the top
Yeah,
10
precisely.
versus Lumber. What is Lumber?
Yeah, Lumber isn't.
Lumber. I don't
I
think
don't
it's
think
as
they're as
tightly.
tightly.
Yeah, that's what I'm checking.
They are tightly held though, from what I remember, but not as
No,
tight.
66%,
Oh, six. Oh,
67%.
yes.
Yeah, wow.
So
Okay, no,
wow,
that's actually interesting.
quite.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's coming from
So
JMB
funny.
too.
Blue Power is number. Oh well, I tied with number one, Stony Hill. That's
Mm-hmm.
still Jeffrey Hall. That's
Mm-hmm.
still Jeffrey Hall and PB Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, if you follow the money, you make money when you follow the money. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and you see
But
none of
yeah,
those.
I think it's gonna be interesting. First IPO 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess I'm wondering how it will trade because the sentiment so far doesn't seem so hot, but it's not really that many shares being offered up.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Even if the employees and those stuff don't take it up, it's only about 200 mil worth. That's not really like a lot, you
Yeah,
know.
still a
So I
very small
guess
IPO.
think it'll be a up or a down now.
I think. I think it'll go up. I can't see it going down.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
At all.
no, it's still possible. It's early stages, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think the hype with that. Hey, there are so many factors that can make it go down.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine if another listing happened right after this. You know, something massive, and or if
Mm-hmm.
within the whole marketing sphere, it's not carried out to the best of
Mm-hmm.
its ability, and
That's why they
so
should come on
on.
Limitless.
That's why they should come on Limitless. I do agree. Yeah, we should have to see you on Limitless.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, well, it may go down. I joke, joking. But
That's why your stock dumped.
but I don't see how this can go down in my opinion. Um, just
Wait, what? You say you
I
do or
don't see
don't?
how. No, I see it going up. That's
Okay.
I
But
see
like
it going
staying
up.
up?
Uh, above $1, yes. I do see it staying
Mm.
up above $1. Worse if you see starts to JMB putting big orders in the queue to hold it up. Because
Buy
JMB does
orders?
have buy orders, yes. It doesn't
Mm.
seem like they want to sell. Look at how they have debt that they're
Yeah, I mean
converting.
they cannot want to sell, but they don't necessarily have to buy. They're already getting
True.
300 mil, 2 mil US worth.
True. But then if you project the profits of this company, yeah, I
Mm.
guess I get you. I get you. I
Mm.
still think it is a fundamentally a good company. And then when you
Mm.
can't say we never say it here first, guys. But when Atlantic starts to acquire other companies, when you see them, I definitely don't see how could they not acquire Lumber in the future? It's gonna be funny a few years from
Mm.
now when we go back to this clip and you guys are like, wow, Thaon
Mm-hmm.
said they would acquire Lumber and so said so
Who do you
done.
think would buy? So why Lumber? But then Lumber could acquire Atlantic. How do you know which one?
Also true.
Or they just
Oh yeah.
merge?
That's
Just a
why I said
merger?
merger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be
So
a
Lumber
merger.
Atlantic Group,
Mm-hmm.
LA Group. I don't know. But yeah, so
Yeah.
you're saying up
I'm saying up.
and stay up.
Yeah. What are you
Mm.
saying?
I don't know. It's still very early. As I said, it's basically 24 hours since it dropped.
Yeah.
It looked like it would probably go up a little first, maybe like 120, 130,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little more still. And
Yeah.
then I think it may go down maybe within the first week, maybe like
As
a
in
little
below
recoil.
IPO?
Not necessarily. Like when I said that, like I mean, okay, it goes up maybe 30, probably at least like 30 max 50% in the first week, and then it probably drop back to maybe like $1.05 or so.
It's hard to
I guess it
tell.
just depends, like when even when is the next report? Because
Mm-hmm.
well, see, my manager here is showing March. Because would it depend? I guess when the list. I'm trying to think like what will cause it to after the list, as you said. Then what will help drive that momentum to keep
The stock
keep
price up.
it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean,
Because
I guess
when would
that
they drop financials? If their
yeah, that's what I
financials
was
are
trying to
good.
work like to see, and then will the report be good? I mean, the warehouse thing we said, the balance sheet should look better.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll likely get if first report is good, they'll probably get like a lot of press around that too. It's like with
True.
IPOs, they get a lot of attention. It's the first IPO 2025.
Mm-hmm.
If they're dropping, as I said, the sentiment right now, I don't think it's so hot based on initial read. If they're dropping some nice reports, big news
Mm-hmm. And then their
about the
second
strong
report.
profits, them I don't know.
Yeah. The second report should also be like a banger with the tax break and then
Mm,
refinancing the debt if all of that is done in time.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. Like that would also be
mm,
a banger. So I could see
yeah.
them on the up and up.
Mm, yeah, but I would
Yeah.
say probably a little up,
Yeah.
then like I kind of drop down, like a recoil, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
not below IPO price. And
Yeah.
then maybe kind of meander there a bit. And then if the report is like really good and there's a lot of press and stuff around it, maybe it move up a little. But yeah, I guess we'll see. We
One to
can look
watch, eh?
back. Can look back if we're right.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Guys, what do you think of this episode?
Another thing we just haven't factored in. We don't know what even the brokers feel about it. I think the brokers putting out
True.
their reports can kind of influence it. Because what if all of them are saying do not participate? Yeah,
They've
I don't
said
know.
that before, and stocks have still flown
True.
for a time.
I said that was a different time.
Yeah, that was a different time. The market is much different right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, we're not seeing many listings right now. But still, I want to watch.
So there are
I'd
a
love
lot
to
of
see what
listings
other
being hinted
people
at, though.
think.
Yeah, drop a
Hinted
comment
at.
below. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, what do you guys think about the stock? Tell us. We'd love to know. Like, how do you feel about it? Will you be participating? Let us know. Will you be participating, Preston?
I'm not sure. It's too early for me to decide still.
Yeah, it's
We'll
just been
see.
24
The thing is,
hours.
you're probably not gonna get.
Many shares?
I guess it'll be
You
interesting
think
because I think
so?
I don't know. As I said, it kind of depends on just, I guess, how people are
It's
feeling about it.
mhm,
It's not that many shares. I do expect it will close.
early.
Yeah, but I mean, early. I think they have like a few weeks technically, so early could be they have it open for 2 weeks. So,
I think it'll
um,
close within at least the first week.
mm, maybe.
Maybe the first 2 days, 3 days. I definitely think it'll close in the general public, and it's already
Mm,
underwritten, so it'll probably close. If
mm,
they could close in the first day, in my opinion. I feel
mm,
like it would likely close though in the first 2 3 days, but they could
mm,
close it to the first day if they really wanted to. They definitely could.
mm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, if you loved this episode, hit subscribe. If you just liked it, then just like it. All right, just like it. But we do appreciate you guys for listening, and share this episode with a friend or someone that's possibly looking to invest. Although this is not financial advice, this is just two doctors chatting about stocks. Hope you enjoyed the episode, guys. Have a blessed one. Limitless out.
Peace.